Hi, so today's lesson is on polyatomic ions. Um, you have to memorize all these polyatomic ions, okay? And you have to memorize them perfectly. So if I ask you to write NO3 nitrate, you're going to have to write NO3 minus, right? If you write NO2 minus, it is wrong. If you write NO3 2 minus, it is also wrong. So I'm basically trying to say you have to memorize these and write them exactly as written. And there's no shortcut. And you know I'm going to ask you these from you throughout the year. So you might as well just memorize them. I don't have to warn you on any test for the rest of the year. You are expected to know this. Okay? Now, when you look at these ions, you see that the naming is pretty straightforward. It is the element, the main element, plus an 8 at the end. It ends in ATE at the end. The only exceptions are hydroxide and ammonium, and you just have to memorize that. There's no, like I said, there's no roundabout way to do it. Just muscle your way through it and make sure you know it. The other thing you have to know is how to convert these things into their acidic form. And their acidic form is like this. And so what you do is, here, let's do this, and we'll do it in green. Okay, is you take the charge of the ion, which is a minus, and you convert that into hydrogen. So since there's one minus, I write H and O3. Okay, the next one would be, I take that over here, and I have two minuses, right? So I'm going to write two H's. So that should be pretty straightforward. And to name these, it's also very easy. The first one is nitric acid. Second one is sulfuric acid. Okay, so basically it ends in ic, I-C, and the word acid. Okay, so pause the video now and try and do the next two for the phosphate and the carbonate. Change them into an acid. Okay, so I'm going to correct it. You should have gotten H3PO4, which is phosphoric acid, and H2CO3, which is carbonic acid. And we can do the same with the others. If you do the hydroxide and you add a hydrogen, you basically end up with water. Too easy. And here, this is the strange one. When we look at that charge, okay, it's a positive charge. It's not like the other negatives. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to remove a hydrogen. And that is going to become NH3. And you just have to remember that the ion is called ammonium. But once you remove that positive hydrogen, it becomes ammonia. Okay, so those are the elements, the polyatomic ions you have to memorize. You have to memorize the acid form, and I can ask you, write the chemical formula for sulfuric acid, and you should write H2SO4. Now, how do we make molecules using those polyatomic ions? Okay, so let's do this in beautiful magenta. Now, let's say I want to combine lithium with nitrate. Well, I know that lithium has a valence of 1. Well, let's do +1. And nitrate has a -1, so crossover rule. And we end up with lithium nitrate. And when we name them, you do not put prefixes in front of anything. It is lithium nitrate. Okay? So now I'm going to ask you to do another one. We're going to do sodium with carbonate. Okay? So pause the video and you try and do it. Okay, so I'm going to solve it now. So the valence for sodium is 1. Crossover rule should give you 2 goes to that side and the 1 goes to that side. So I end up with 2 sodiums and the carbonate. And the name for that, it has no prefixes, is sodium carbonate. Okay, so I'm going to give you one more and you're going to try and do it. Okay, so let's do magnesium plus phosphate. Pause the video and try and solve it. Okay, so magnesium has a valence of +2. I do the crossover rule, and here it gets a little bit strange. Well, the 3 goes to the magnesium, so that's easy. I write the phosphate, but the 2 goes to the phosphate, right? So I have to put this in brackets and write a 2 like this. And the name is magnesium phosphate. And just to remind you that this 2 is affecting everything on the inside. Okay, so if you actually had to count the atoms or do the molecular mass of that thing, or the molar mass, better said, you'd actually, the amount of elements that this would have is 3 times magnesium, 2 times phosphorus, and 8 times oxygen. Okay, so hopefully that helps. You need to practice these things and make sure you get it right. Okay.